Now then, and for the Offcomdens, good afternoon and welcome, because we've got a lot here from down south, which of course is anywhere below Doncaster as far as my grandmother was concerned. But welcome anyway. It's lovely to see you all here. We haven't been this far north for the AGM since, well, I don't know, it's a good while back now. I think Scarborough was the last time probably. So it's nice to see it moving around and back in the old home country. So there we are. It's been an interesting 12 months for the Trust. In fact, to put it bluntly, it's been bloody challenging at times. The coal saga, of course, has dominated everybody's lives. And I think one of the things we have to look at for the future is the fact that we're becoming more and more of an anachronism, I suppose. You know, the environmentalists are holding sway, and there we are, burning this mucky coal and all the rest of it. But nevertheless, as the heritage is still valued in the country, and that's what we're part of. And one of the things that we've done was to get associated with the Heritage Railway Association, who have a lot more clout than we do when it comes to lobbying government and officials and people of that sort, because they represent quite a major part of the economy. So anyway, enough of that from me. So say very good welcome to you all. This is my 12th year as president, I discovered when I had a look at the badge, because Richard Sandercock retired in 2011. And I don't know how much longer they'll keep me. I'll probably get the nod one day. But in the meantime, as I say, it's a great privilege and a pleasure to stand here as the sort of I was going to say figurehead, but that always makes me think of a bountiful-looking lady on the front of a boat, and I don't fit that very well. So anyway, enough of that. So Chairman, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. North of or south is south of Derby. For me, it's north of Truro. Anything north of that. So if you see me short of breath, you'll know it's because I'm not used to this thin air of this far north. But no, it is indeed a real pleasure to be up here. And I travelled up on the train yesterday watching and realising just what a beautiful country we have. And certainly the area up here is of outstanding natural beauty. And it's a privilege to be in Yorkshire. So there's no Cornish people going to hear me say that, so it's okay. No, he's been excommunicated. And if you tell Robin Daniel that, I'll be in the cart. Thank goodness he's not here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some business to get through here this year. So first item on the agenda is the apologies for absence. So I think we've got that on our screen. You can see those people. No, they haven't. It's coming. No, we're getting there. Right, okay, so those are the list of people who have noted their apologies. Anybody would like to bring apologies from the floor for any of our members? Brian Gooding. Louise Maunder, okay, super. Well, she's a stalwart and works so hard for the club. I'm sure we can excuse her on this occasion. Fair enough. Yeah, she's a concert violinist, isn't she? As well as being the Steam Apprentice Club saviour. Okay, so item 2 is to approve the minutes of the last annual general meeting. I know you've all read them and you can commit them to heart, but just a matter of interest, they were in July's copy of Steaming, and they do reside on our website. So I don't know if anybody has got any issues they'd like to bring, or shall we take the votes as being approval of the minutes? Nick, have you got those? Anybody got the? John, have you got a vote? Have you got the number of votes for the minutes? Yep, no problem. We'll move on to that and we'll come back to that. So item 3 is, are there any matters arising from this? Everybody's quiet, so I think I can take that as a no. Well, we're doing very well here. That's not bad. Okay, so to receive the chairman's report, but just before I do, I'd like to ask a couple of our helpers, very senior, important people, if they could just stand and make themselves known. We've got Paul Ritchie with us today, who is our new editor. And we've also got John Y, who has taken over the looking after of our rally. So these two gentlemen are probably known to you, or some of you, but just wanted to introduce them to you. So the aims and the objectives of our trust remain exactly the same, and I don't really need to read them out. They'll go up onto the screen in a second. But basically, we're there to make sure we can keep STEAM on the road and to do everything we can to encourage and promote the interest in STEAM. From the financial year that's gone, we're reporting on the period up to the 31st of March of this year. And I won't go into too much detail because Amy, our treasurer, will be doing that in a very full and fine fashion just in a minute. We've made a change this year in as much as we've written reports. Written reports have been included by our section leaders. So you've all had time to look and understand those. And I'll be asking for comments to those in a minute. Financially, and it's really important that that we deal with this, we made a surplus during the year of £9,300 something, and I think it's really important just to reaffirm that making a surplus is not a dirty word. It's not wrong. We need our trust to be on a sound financial footing to be able to carry out the works that we've got to do. And as Andrew mentioned earlier on, it's getting ever increasingly difficult to manage regulation and our fuel issues. So I'm very pleased to report that we seem to be on a sound footing, not least of all because of your very competent pair of hands, madam. But that's really important. We've also managed to, in the year to the 31st of March, appoint some large numbers of monies that are going into our charitable outputs. And through the course of the coming year, we'll be reinforcing the work that we're doing throughout our charities and making sure that we actually deliver on what we're committed to. And I know, David, you're very keen on our charitable outputs, and we will continue to do that. The one focus that I think is proving very successful is successional planning. And you're looking at me a bit amazed. What I'm talking about actually is the STEAM Apprentice Club. And the STEAM Apprentice Club is really important to us and to everybody, because if we don't have young people coming into our movement, we're not going to have anybody to clean our brass, to steer our engines, to drive our engines, and eventually to buy them when we no longer are able to use them. So I just commend to the meeting today that need for people to help. Our STEAM Apprentice Club has been supported by Nick, who's behind me here as the chair, and Louise Maunder, who can't be with us today, but almost single-handedly completely have managed through the year, thank you, John, to run the STEAM Apprentice Club with just, that amount of help. So please, if anybody's got any friends, if you've got 5 minutes, you're on a rally field and you see the STEAM Apprentice pen or their stand, and you can just give them 5 minutes or to go, have a comfort break, or maybe spend half an hour talking with some potential young people, or even better, come and help for a couple of hours. And the goal is come and help us and support the STEAM Apprentice Club, because without that we don't have a future. And I have an interest in internal combustion apart from external expansion. I can tell you that some of them are seeing a real drop in numbers, and yet our market's grown by 10%. And that doesn't mean to say that I'm doing a good job. What it means is that we've got a vehicle that are bringing young people into. I know I'm stressing it, but I don't think I can overstress the importance of planning. Future, where's the future go? And already mentioned about the problems we're facing of regulation of fuels, and it's difficult to plot and plan where we're going throughout the. Is that better? I get the wrong, is it? Up there. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Sorry about that. Those are hearing me gurgle. Where are we heading? Well, our three charitable objectives that I set out last year were collaboration, communication, and regulation. They all sounds quite, poncy and posh, but communication, it's critical importance in our modern world, that we use all of the vehicles to be able to communicate, whether it be the written word, letter, email, social media, whatever it is, newsletters, website, and we will continue to plow and invest funds into these platforms so that we can better communicate with you, our members, and also with the wider STEAM movement, because we are an inclusive body. We're not exclusive. Of course, we need members, and we want to encourage people to join us, because through a broad spectrum of membership, we will achieve a bigger voice. And if we've got a voice, then we can share that within the regulatory areas, such as government. And we have a young trustee with us, Charlotte, who is a profession. She's a solicitor, and she's been working, very hard and thoroughly to make sure that nothing comes around the corner that we don't know about. I mean, after all, we don't really want to paint our brass and copper pipes red because they're hot on the footplate, do we? Not at all. Nor do we want to be excluded from having our engines on the road because they've got smooth tires and no tread. I know it all sounds silly, but believe it or not, those are two examples of regulations that might have gone through had the trust not intervened and stopped what to us is a silly regulation, but to government and people that don't understand our engines, it's just normal. So that's part of what's happening. Collaboration. We've got many organizations throughout the STEAM world, and we all seem to work independently. That doesn't mean to say we've suddenly got to jump into bed and all become one single body, because indeed we all have our own entities and our own focuses. For instance, the Road Locomotive Society focuses almost exclusively on the historics of road steam, and yet the Road Railroad Association, the Steam Plough Club, and a lot of other organizations, we all share the same interest of steam. And so the National Traction Engine Trust will continue to try and collaborate and work alongside these bodies so that we have a better understanding of each other's aims and aspirations. I can think of one particular scenario. The Road Locomotive Society is working very hard and effectively to create an archive, and the National Traction Engine Trust has a large amount of archive material, and we have been in discussions and chatting with the RLS, understanding how we might support them, and then in turn they can support us. So it's about being inclusive once again, rather than being in our little silos of interest, although NTET is steam on the road. Interestingly, we recently received a bequest, or we are about to receive a bequest, from a person who actually, funny enough, lives in Cornwall, and they've about to give us quite a substantial amount of money. It exceeds 6 figures, 6 noughts, to preserve the Fowler records. Now, being a borough man, you might think that's, I hardly dare say that, but a very kind bequest. And we are working with the university that holds these records and actively engaged, and almost we've reached a formula where we will be investing some of those monies into creating a record for the Fowler records, an archive for the Fowler records. And perhaps that signals just the start of trying to capture not only the information of the past, but also the people, the folks. Because I don't know about you, but one looks at a photograph of our engines in one field and the next field, it's all the same. But it's the people that wrap around them. It's the characters that we engage with and we have a beer with and we talk with and chat. And so I know that the East Anglian Traction Engine Society is actively trying to accrue some video footage of people, and that might be one of the areas that we would look into in the future. On the ground, I put that down as a heading. There are some people that work tirelessly within our organization, quietly, without being seen, that they take stands to events and rallies. They put up gazebos and tents and marquees, and they work quietly, just delivering the aims of the trust, providing books, providing service, providing a place where someone can have a cup of tea, and yet they quite often go unmissed and unthanked. So on behalf of the trust, and especially me, thank you to you guys. And I can see one young lady in the back there who I'm thinking of very much so, just behind you here. So thank you to all of those people that come and help. And it's a merry band of people, but we're always looking for support. So, don't think that you can't come along and lend a hand. There's always a huge amount of people to thank. And not least of all, we've got all of the trustees. No one gets paid for this job. We just do it because we have a common interest of looking after STEAM on the road. So thank you to you guys. And especially this year, there's been an awful lot of work done behind the scenes by some of our section leaders. I expect you can imagine the amount of thoughts and efforts that have gone into managing the coal situation scenario. And one person in particular, young Tom at the back there, has been a stalwart in arranging for and on behalf of us, the NTET, but also the wider membership of the STEAM world, trying to sort out and provide a more stable form of coal. And it just looks as though we might be heading slightly further forward into that, but we'll have to wait and see. A particular section that was been managed by one gentleman and a member for many years is the TSU, Technical Services Unit. And David used to look after the whole shebang by himself. We've got 6 people that do it now, and they're fairly busy. So we're getting used to it. Particularly Tony Seddon's taken over the reins of this particular service, and it's a vital service. It's a very wide, broad church of a service. So we've got he's supported by Charlotte, and I mentioned Louise Maunder, Tom, John Durling, Colin, and a couple of other people, and they just quietly meet in an evening and just get on with the business of making sure that your trust is looking after what's important to you and to us as part of it. I mentioned earlier that we've made a profit for the year, and I think that it's nice to be able to report that the current year suggests that we are stable and that we are holding our own, and we've got monies to put into our charitable outputs, and just to ensure that the National Traction Engine Trust is here to serve the nation's interest in the road, in STEAM on the road, but also to look forward, and we can plan as to how we're going to make investments in securing our future. If you're interested, can I recommend you take a look onto our website? We've just launched a new range of clothing. Makes perfect presents for that youngster that you see once a year that wants, you need to give something for Christmas, or your husband and wife, or a family friend. Drop onto the website, have a look. It's a new launch of clothing, and we'll be growing it and moving it around according to how it works. But I can recommend that you take a look on that on the NTET website. Keeping our profile and keeping our face is really important, and we've lost, or appear to have lost, the Great Dorset Steam Fair recently. In yesterday's social media post, there was an announcement that the event won't go ahead this year, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. But your trust will continue to be a broad church, and we will be looking to widen and to grow our exposure, both north and south, east and west, because we're a national organization. So please, if you've got if you represent a rally or an event, and you would like us to come and to have a presence and to hear and to be there and to support you, then please make yourself known. Let us know. We can't guarantee it, but because we've got limited numbers of hands and feet, and time, but we'll do our very best to get up and to be with you and to support you in what you do. And also, I recommend to you the service that we do for registered events. Finally, my thanks must go to my colleagues and trustees who do all the work. I just sit there quietly on the end of a Zoom or do something and utter rubbish, and they go away and turn it into something sensible and deliver it. Then they're quite good at understanding Cornish. But perhaps most importantly is thank you to our members, because people that join us, pay their membership fees and allow us to be able to do the work that we do, we just wouldn't function. So on behalf of the National Traction Engine Trust, thank you to all of our members, both within this room today, but also all the folks that are on the end of a Zoom. So that's me finished waffling for the day, but just thank you to you all for being part of the trust. Gosh, thank you. I'll get that right one of these days. So last year we had spoken reports, as I mentioned earlier. We've just got written reports now. So I'm going to suggest that if you've read the reports, are there any questions that members from the floor or on Zoom would like to table to any of the section leaders? Because we've got quite a good representation of section leaders. Is anybody any questions or points they'd like to raise? I'm going to ask John in a minute to just give us a rough indication of what we're doing for supporting rallies. But is there any questions for anybody? If not, no, okay. Well, if you do think about it whilst John, you're sharing your report. We go. Okay, over to you, John.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John White, has been already announced. I've taken over from Charlie Cribbs as the rally chair. It's been an interesting time because I sort of hit the ground running with very little information. So a little bit of background about me. I've been a rally safety officer at various events around the UK for about the last 15 years, and new ones coming on board as well. One of my challenges for the upcoming year really is to get the training that some of you have heard about off the ground, because we've got one course written and we've got another one in the pipeline, and I have been going around to some events. I've done 5 so far, and I've got 2 more booked in for the new year, supporting rallies that have got either new committees or they want an update on legislation, etc. So we've been doing that, and if anyone else is affiliated to a rally that you think you could benefit from that, then please come and see me. Also, as well, we're going to do our utmost to get these codes of practice put to bed, because they need checking for their legality, etc., and also linking them where practicable to the per guide. So we've got that to do as well. And rally monitors have been a bit of a challenge for me, because I inherited with no information, and Alan over there sent me a list of rally monitors that had done reports prior to COVID, and I emailed out all those rally monitors, and I got one reply and one guy showing an interest. So if you or anybody that you know would be interested, because the more rallies that we can cover in the summer, just going around checking and helping and supporting those rallies and having a face at a rally will help us immensely. So if you're interested in becoming a rally monitor, or you know somebody that may well be interested in doing that, then please come and talk to me and we can make it happen. So that's a little bit about me and where we are at the moment, and we are moving forward, albeit slowly. At first it was like running up a down escalator, because you can tell I'm used to the London Underground with my accent, although I live in Somerset. So as been intimated, I'm one of those guys that are well south of North Yorkshire. But that doesn't mean to say that I agree with Rob entirely that it is my first time in Northallerton, and what a lovely area. And I spent time this morning having a look through the town, and it brought back some really nice childhood memories, this area. So If you need support, that's part of my role, and that's what I'm there for. And to quote the AA, if I don't know the answer, I won't give you the wrong answer. I will certainly know a person that does know the answer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Good. Okay, so I've got the votes in for approving the minutes, and I can tell you that they are approved. So that's that piece of statutory regulation done. So the next item is no, sorry. I need to ask for votes on approving the reports. And they all yes, they've all been approved. So that's fine. So my report and the section leaders are approved by the membership. Item number 6 is to receive the full accounts for our trading year to the 31st of March. So I'll pass you over to our treasurer, Amy.
Thank you, Rob. Make sure I don't stand directly in front of the screen. So highlights just for this year. It's been a bit of a quieter year. This year I got into doing quite a few different things with the introduction of gift aid and various other things. Not quite so much going on this year. The one thing that we have introduced is a direct debit scheme, which is a huge thank you to David and Richard at the back, which I've admittedly done nothing on at all. They've kind of introduced this, but it's going to be a really great help for our membership going forwards, because it's so much easier to keep members and keep get the right amount, to be able to update it if we change our membership fees. Gift aid is bedded in during the year, so we've now had one full year in the 23 accounts. We've had one full year of gift aid. Lots and lots of members seem to be ticking the boxes where they can, which is really good. And just as a bit of a reminder, it means on your subscriptions that you pay, we can claim back 25% of those subscriptions in gift aid. So it's free money for the club from the government. And the only things that you need to meet for us to be able to do that is that the member needs to pay at least as much tax as we're going to claim back. So 25% of your subs. You need to make the gift aid declaration, which you do when you renew or join. And then the benefits to the member from being a member of the club are less than 25% of the cost, which, if you remember, that's part of the reason we kind of picked the increase last year. So I'm going to just run through the account. The booklet that you should have on your seats, the last 2 pages, I'm just going to run through the income and expenditure account. You'll see on there that we've got a profit of just under 45,000 this year in the 23 account year. And if you bear in mind, this is the 12 months to March 23, so not the last few months. You'll have to kind of put your mind back to the fact that this was last year. So there was a great Dorset. There were lots of rallies that were on. We'd kind of returned back to normal after COVID, the driver training course to return and things like that. So that profit of 45,000 seems quite large, but actually, if you look into it, it does include a large donation that we had from the estate of MJ Beebe. So there's £25,000 that was donated from his estate, which has been an amazing donation to the club. We have created a new fund for that money. So we want to make sure that it doesn't just get kind of disappeared within club cost. So that 25,000 has been put in a kind of a designated fund, and we need to decide what to spend that on. So we kind of make sure it goes to something specific. Out of that profit, so if you kind of take that 25, a profit of 20,000. Some of the costs during the year have been taken out of some of the designated funds. So there's £650 that came out of an education fund, which is like scholarships for people attending the driving course normally, or it might be that somebody's asked to do kind of a welding course or a boiler making course or something like that we've taken out of that fund. We've also taken costs of 2,500, which went towards fuel trials and coal for various fuel trials. Then so out of that 20,000, we've then designated some of that money, because we know it's been a good year. We've designated some of that money towards different elements that we're likely to spend in the future. So we've put £1,000 back into the education and scholarship fund so that we can kind of keep keep funding that for any young people that want to do something that is related to STEAM on the road, and kind of any courses, any driving days, STEAM apprentice days. We've put £5,000 back into the Fuel Environmental Fund, which is at the moment is the coal trials, anything to do with that. We've put £2,500 into STEAM Apprenticeship Club development, so that's just kind of a general fund that we can actually think about, is there anything within that side of the club that we can use, develop, whether that's kind of educational, whether that's to do with the borough or anything along those lines. And then we've created a new, I've called it a 70th anniversary fund with £5,000, but it might be a 75th anniversary fund. I haven't quite decided yet, but a fund to do something to celebrate the club's birthday, which I think I'm right in saying 70th next year. So, or 75th in 6 years' time. So similar to what we've done on the road run. 50th, 60th. Okay. Excuse me. So that gives us a kind of a real profit of just over £9,000. And just running down the items on there. So income this year has been 93,000, which is 36,000 up on the previous 22. But that's mainly because we have returned to a full year. So we had the driver's training course, which had £7,000 of income. The rally authorization fees is 5,000 because there was lots held over from 21, so that it was kind of back to a full year. And then we've got increase in subs. There was a really good increase for STEAM apprentice subs at Dorset last year, plus the NTET subs as well have gone up by 2. And then because we had Great Dorset in the year, there's a really Great Dorset, but the majority of it would have been. Our direct costs were 54,000, which breaks down to our cost of sales. Our direct cost of sales of 26,000, and then steaming, conferences and training of 28,000, which gives us a gross profit of about 38,000 last year. This has been an increase from 34,000 from 2022. So as you can say, the costs have been controlled quite well, because our increase in our income is pretty much the same as our increase in our gross profit. Operating costs in year 39,000, which is of 32,000 since 2022, which is a number of areas, kind of general increase in costs across lots of different areas, but also remembering that we have returned to a full year of activity. So rally lists were republished, there was some website spend, fuel trials, raising steam costs went up by a bit. So there was a kind of lots of different areas. And then we had other income that came in of 45,000, which is made up, and that's a big increase again on the previous year, big increase of 38,000. But that's 25,000 of that is this MJBB donation that's come into it. We've got the Great Dorset donations of about 3,000 plus 8,000 in gift aid, which is the first year that we've got the gift aid amount that's in there. So that's the income and expenditure account. If you go forward one page, you've got the balance sheet, which is the kind of fairly short one. And this is setting out our financial position at any one date. So is setting out our financial position of the club on the 31st of March 2023. The fixed assets that are on there, you've got tangible assets of 37,000, which is mainly our trophies, proudly displayed at the back, and they were revalued a couple of years ago, so that's kind of at their actual value. And then we've got other current assets, which are the ones that kind of could be liquidated quicker. So our stock items, our debtors, where other people owe us money, which actually is mostly prepayments where we've paid for things in advance, and then our the cash balance, which I'll come back to in a minute. Then you've got your creditors, which are the where we owe money to other people, but mainly that's payments that have been received in advance. So the rally or the authorization fees, there's a few subs that have been paid in advance, and a few fees that have been held over from 2021. So that gives us a general fund of 81,000, and then designated funds, which are the ones where we have taken profit from various years over the years. and we've allocated it for a specific use, but it's not restricted to that use. So for example, if the trust was to get into difficulty, you could take funds out, so you could take money out of those designated funds. They're not restricted for that specific use. Whereas the restricted funds, which is the trophies, the 37,000, is restricted only for the trophies. You can't use it for something else. So we couldn't sell the trophies and then use that for something else. And that kind of completes the rundown of the accounts. Copies of the accounts are available on request. Just coming on to the current year. So we're obviously already 7 months into the year. Our budget that we set at the beginning of the year assumed there would be a Great Dorset this year. Obviously there wasn't, but the club then did step to be accurate. Our budget expected a profit of 12,000 for the year, but actually 6 months in, we're already at 12,000. Now it's not a straight line, so it won't be 24,000, but I suspect it will be higher than the 12 we were expecting. And most of that's due to cost savings in lots of different areas. I said I'd come back to the cash, and I stood here last year, or not kind of directly here, but I stood in front of you last year and we talked about the fact that we've got a very high balance. So at the moment it is, I can't remember what it is, 194,000. Partly that's been boosted because of this 25,000 donation that we had in the year. As a trust and as the trustees, we are looking into what we do with that. And I know I said that last year and it's kind of been lower down on my to-do list, hasn't got very far with it, but we need to do something. And the things we're looking into is making safe investments. So whether that's kind of stock market investments, but it will be kind of with somebody who, a financial planner who deals with charities and knows that we have to keep the risks down at a very low level for a charitable investment. But actually that some of that cash should be invested for the future of the trust, and we should be spending money on the things that are important to the trust. So the education, the fuel trials, bringing young people up through to kind of work with the trust as well. So we've been discussing ideas of trustees, but we are with the trustees, but we are open to ideas from the members. So if anyone has any ideas of things that we could be doing as a trust, we could be investing that money and making it work for us in the future. I have got, I think the next slide shows our charitable aims. As it says within these charitable aims, it is something that the trust can do. So have a think. Obviously, just happy to take ideas now, but have a think. And if anyone has got any ideas, then please send me an email, give me any of the other trustees. So I think that's me. If anyone's got any questions, then please shout. Happy to answer them now. If I can't answer them, I can come back to you. Stunned silence.
Thank you, Amy. I hope that you all recognise the quality of the management that we've got within our funds. So thank you, Amy, very much indeed. We're extremely lucky to have such a skilled person that works tirelessly and protects money like a bulldog does a bone when we try to ask for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, very well looked after. Okay, so we're getting down this agenda quite well. So item 7. Oh, yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon. Right, so we need to approve the reports by myself and also the section leaders, and also the accounts, and from the membership that have balloted, those are approved. So those are taken as agreed. So on to item 7, which is to appoint the independent examiners, Charles Lovell and Co. And that has been agreed by a majority. So Charles Lovell and Co. will become our independent examiners for the 23-24 year. Now comes the funny bit. To elect council members within accordance of Article 19. So a bloke called Rob Clifford-Wing seeks re-election as chairman, and I'm pleased to say that I have been ejected by a majority. Thank you. And the following members retire by rotation, and offer themselves for re-election, and that is Louise Maunder, Kathy Smith, and Mark Waite. And they have all been re-elected. So, guys, you're in for another term. And thank you all for taking the trouble to share your votes with us. Andy Rimmel, who's been with us for almost 8 years or more, is no longer offering himself for re-election. But I just wanted to say a personal thank you to Andy. He's one of those unsung heroes that just, quietly gets on with what he's doing for the trust. And thank you, Andy, very much indeed for your support throughout the years. And we will miss your company. We've got nominations for the General Counsel have been received by Charlotte. For Charlotte Gibbett. That's been proposed by Peter Corley and seconded by Bob Norman. And John Y is proposed by myself and seconded by David Smith. And I can tell you that both of those people have been successfully elected as trustees. So well done, guys. Thank you. I'll be on your case in a minute. So we come to the very pleasant item of number 9. Before I move on, and thank you for reminding me, the person that's stepping down has been a very large part of our trust for quite some time. Is Charlie Cribbs, and Charlie's been a stalwart in looking after our health and safety and generally being a really important part of the trust. So, Charlie, thank you very much indeed. I don't know if you're listening to this, but on behalf of the trust, we thank you for all your effort that's been put in. Item 9 is any other competent business, and the first bit of that is the best report. Andrew, do you have anything to say?
Yes, best. This was started quite a few years ago by Gordon Newton, as many of you will know, and it has continued to develop and has a website and offers training courses. Realistically, these are more suited to the railway side of life, and indeed that's assuming a greater significance because the Office of Rail Regulation is not best pleased with some of the occurrences that have been happening on railways of late. Chap fell off a coach roof down in South Wales. There was no working at height risk assessment. The ladder fell and he came off and broke his leg, and this sort of thing they take with very seriously, and rightly so. There was an incident involving a carriage on one railway where somebody went to use the toilet and found that in fact there wasn't a toilet and there wasn't even a floor in the compartment, and the train was bowling along. And so they are cracking the whip a little bit, and Best is going to assume more significance to them because of the training courses that we offer. You can't do training without a cost, and by and large, the best courses, whilst they are good value for money, are usually rather beyond what the average engine owner wants to spend on the necessary skills. So we haven't seen a huge uptake from the road steam movement, but nevertheless, Best continues to be there. And if you've got any particular things you would like to learn more about, or courses you want to get involved with or propose, there is a website, and Gordon Newton has the ever open ear to ideas. So that's really where Best is at the present time. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Just before I throw out any other business open to the floor. Okay. Just wanted to we've got Paul in the room here, who is our new editor, and I'm not going to put him on the spot, don't worry, Paul. But Steaming Magazine is your magazine, it's our magazine, and it only works with the input and the dialogue between the members who read it and the editor who produces it. So if you want to see a magazine in a particular form, please share your thoughts with us. Can't guarantee it'll be put in, but we want to hear from those of you that enjoy the magazine. If you've got an article, an engine you're restoring, somewhere you've been, a piece of interest that other members might find enjoyable, then make contact with Paul, the editor at ntet.co.uk. Chuck it down and he'll give you a call. But please do help us to keep your magazine relevant for you, and including the content that you feel is of value. Because without your input, we can only just guess. So we'd love your feedback. Thank you. Okay, so is there any other business from the floor that people would like to share?
I forgot to put in my report that we do sit on the Boiler Code of Practice Committee, which was set up by the Office of the Rail Regulator some years ago. And they talked to us about our code of practice and were quite taken with the code of practice that we produced. And we now, by their invitation, sit on their committee. Now, whilst a lot of the stuff is regarding full-size steam locomotives and, of course, the miniature railways as well, a lot of things impinge on us, like boiler tubes and that sort of thing, and legislation regarding that. So it is something that we do keep an eye on, and when there is items of interest, we will report them through steaming and on the website. But at the moment, they are working through a set of guidance notes from everything from water safety valves, gauges, and so on. And particularly the things that do come up are the quality issues with steel, copper, and other things, particularly rivets. And the one that's causing most concern at the moment is boiler tube. And work is going on to try and get a source of boiler tube, or somebody in this country to manufacture boiler tube, which is of sufficient quality for use in our engines. Well, mainly the railway engines, but obviously it will come down to us as well. So we do keep a watch on that sort of thing. Tony and I are on that committee, and it only meets twice a year, but a lot of correspondence goes on in between. So that's where we are with that. So if anybody's got a burning problem with boiler tube or rivets or anything like that, you let me know, I can bring it up and we can follow it up and see where it's come from. Okay.
Thank you, Bob. In operation is the interface between NTET and the regulatory authorities. So, yep. Any other business? Is anybody on the floor got a microphone we can share to you, would like to bring up any matters? John, can I ask John there?
Thank you very much indeed. We had some, well, I had some very sad news, as we all probably did, that Tomo, the signwriter, died earlier this month. And the details are, whilst I realise an awful lot of people will have seen that on Facebook, some people may not be on Facebook. And his funeral is on the 29th of November at Abingdon Crematorium at 2 p.m. and then to Shillingford Hotel for the bun fight afterwards. And I just thought I'd put that in and let you know. And whilst on a personal note, having worked with Tomo over 20 years on and off various jobs, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with such a craftsman. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do any other members have any other business? Any business they'd like to bring? If not, before I close the meeting, can I remind you that dinner this evening is in the Yorkshire Suite, and there is a bar in there already, so you can congregate in there if you wish. So 7 for 7:30, and all those of you who are joining us are most welcome. We've also got 4 spare seats because 2 couples have had to cancel for different reasons. So if you do know of anybody that you can cajole into coming or would like to join us, they're very welcome. So I'm now going to pass over to Presidents Andrew and David, who will deliver the presentation of trophies. So this meeting is closed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attendance and your support. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President.
Yeah, I'll start again because I haven't got it switched on. I say this is always good because Smithy has to read out loud like he used to have to do in class at school. But of course, a lot of the trophies were given in memory of famous names from the past that have been involved with STEAM. And so it's right and proper that we continue the tradition of awarding them to various individuals and recognizing where there's been a particular effort made to restore an engine or whatever it happens to be. So anyway, David, are you ready? You got your tongue in gear?
I think so.
Right, off we go then.
Before we go into the process formally, I'll just give you an idea of the routine. I'm going to read out the citation and the name or names of the recipients as we go along. But Anne here has in front of her a form which goes with each of the trophies, which as a recipient, if you're awarded something from today, we'd like you to take this form. Before you leave the room, we'd like you to fill the form in and then give it back to Anne here so that we know that you have it, where you live, what your bank details are, and all that sort of good stuff. No, I'm joking. No, because one of the most difficult parts of the AGM, I have to tell you, no matter what's gone on behind the scenes so far, is knowing where the trophies are and how to get them back into our hands for next year round. So this piece of paper is to give us some start for next year. Thank you. So here we go then. The first trophy, I'm going to let you press the button for me. Don't yet, mate. Right. Okay. Right. This is a trophy given by Arthur Napper, as it says it's a cup. It's actually quite a small cup. But I would contest that coming from such a person, it's of great stature. One of our founding fathers of our hobby. It was presented by Arthur originally for engines at the Appleford Rally. And when Appleford ceased, Arthur agreed to it being awarded for engines and wagons operated and maintained specifically to a very high standard. And as I've said, although it's physically small, its prestige lies in the fact that it was originally presented by one of our founding fathers. Here's the citation. Awarded for the restoration and running of their standard Sentinel and Yorkshire wagons to such a high standard. The recipients of this award often cover considerable distances on the road, and they have just recently completed the total ground-up restoration of a Fowler roller. The quality of this has, I've been told, actually to be seen to be believed. Absolutely fantastic. And the award goes to the Ward family of Upper Denby. Would somebody come forward and collect this award, please? Don't forget your piece of paper. Don't forget your piece of paper. Not to be hung. Oh, thank you, Andrew. The second award is the Curtis Bowl. It's a small vase originating from the Curtis family, often given for taking an engine on long and outstanding road journeys under steam. The citation reads, many owners and crew will tell you that roading an engine is a serious but most enjoyable test of an engine crew's skills. The owner of Aveling and Porter E-type roller Pegasus has owned his skills to perfection and demonstrates them well when traveling to shows with the engine, always under its own steam wherever it goes. Andrew Cook, would you come and collect this award, please? That'd be very good, please. And would you take the piece of paper with it? Thank you. Take it with you when you back.
You can put it in later. The one joined up writing. Yeah. That's our senior curator of rail artifacts, ladies and gentlemen. I just thought I'd like to embarrass him a bit when I got the chance.
But born and honed in road steam, let's say.
Oh, yes. Yes, certainly. Yeah.
The third award is the Dacre Lacey, given by Alistair Dacre Lacey, an early chairman of the club and a member of the original committee. And his number one on the roll, or he was number one on the roll. Originally awarded for outstanding preservation renovation. The citation reads, a wonderful restoration of 2 agricultural engines, Alchins. It's the main consideration behind this the award. Both engines were recovered from Australia in a very derelict and incomplete state. In 2014, this year's recipient received the Eric Middleton Trophy for the work he had undertaken that far at that time. And to complete the restoration of both of these engines is a remarkable achievement, and the standard achieved is incredible. And has again got to be seen to be believed. Mark Ellis of Dalton, would you collect the award, please? Right. Would anyone be able to collect it on his behalf?
Oh, we can give it to John this evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Righty ho. So we put that over there then.
We'll put it back.
Okay.
Because otherwise you'll get muddled up.
Number 3, I will get one more. Number 4 then is the Golden Award, awarded for outstanding work in the full field of traction engine movement, often awarded to bodies as opposed to individuals. Presented by Morris's of Shrewsbury, producers of the Golden Film lubrication oils. And the citation, rather a long one. This award this year is being made to one of the longest established clubs in the country. Its formation was triggered by an ad hoc event that took place on Saturday, the 15th of August, 1953. Billed as a traction engine derby, it consisted of 4 engines undertaking at least 3 laps of a field, now a housing estate, it's sad to say, off Miller Lane in Pickering. So successful was the event that it was staged for a further 2 years on that site. A number of other derbies followed, latterly being staged at the Pickering Traction Engine Rally, which was launched in August 1962. Later that same year, the Pickering Traction Engine Club was formed. Over the years, the list of attendees and their engines and their antics became the stuff of legends. As a quick visit to the website will testify. In December 2012, quite recently now, the Pickering Club rebranded itself to become the Great Yorkshire Traction Engine Club Limited. Along the main objectives of the Great Yorkshire Traction Engine Club have all along, I should say, have been to bring together those people who are interested in steam road vehicles and other veteran and vintage vehicles, to preserve steam road and other vehicles and the organisation of rallies. These principles are very close to the heart of the NTET. So this award is being presented, as we already guessed, to the Great Yorkshire Traction Engine Club. Again, would you collect the reward, please? Have we? Good man, come forward.
This gives me particular pleasure, of course, because I went to Pickering back in the days of Duke Brewer, John Connor, Monty Thackeray, and God knows who else caused all sorts of trouble and mayhem. Remember Duke Brewer being stuck on the field and he refused to load off. He sat there for 10 days whilst it dried out and then drove off with the village queen. But great memories, and it's lovely to see that coming to the club, and it's well deserved.
Thank you. I should have mentioned also these trophies have got carrying cases or boxes here at the front. So when you bring your form and filled it in, we'll give you a box to take it away in. Okay. Now, the next award is the John Crawley Trophy. I can tell you that the recipient of this trophy has not got a clue that it's been awarded. This is a fine, large rose bowl believed to have been won by John Crawley's father in connection with motorcycling and given to the club by John for outstanding service to the club or the hobby movement, but not necessarily connected with any specific engine. This year's award is being made to someone who has worked tirelessly, devoting a tremendous amount of his time and energy and expertise on behalf of all owners and crew of engines on the issue of sourcing and trialling of a number of suitable replacements for fossil fan dry steam coal, I should say, and also some of our favourite bituminous coals, which are no longer available to us. Although there's still a long way to go in this endeavour, quite where we would have been at this time without this person's involvement is anybody's guess. I was pleased to work alongside the recipient of this award in my former capacity as head of technical service. He has a great ability to think outside of the box. The fact that there is no silver bullet solution to the problem of securing affordable and eco-acceptable fuels to help sustain a future for our historic treasures is not lost on him, and he works on. Tom Atwood. Don't forget your piece of paper. Thanks, Tom. Well done, mate. Percy Hiram's bowl.
Yeah.
Given by John Hirons to be presented to an agricultural engine, preferably one which was either in serious use or used in a proper demonstration. I'm quoting what's been written in the past. The award for presenting this, this has been awarded to the recipient for presenting his wonderful 1889 8 nominal horsepower Marshall number 17134, known better to most of us as Mary Margaret, which is often to be seen driving a Rexall bench. Amongst many other events, it has participated in the past at the Worksworth trials back in 2014 and often been seen at Beamish. Michael Davison, are you here to collect the award, please? Listen, I'm supposed to be the comic.
Fancy seeing you.
Yeah.
There was one rather amusing
Don't forget your
side
piece of
to
paper.
the Worksworth trials, actually, because Richard and I were supposed to be following it and forming some sort of an opinion to award a prize at the end of the event, which it talk about poison chalice. But anyway, we got lost at one point in the proceedings and pulled up at a crossroads, and there was a set of strike marks turning right. Oh, we've got it. We're all right now. We'll follow these. So we followed the strike marks about 200 yards, whereupon they went into a field. Did a loop round the field, came out and went back the way they'd come. So we weren't a lot wiser until we got out.
Okay. The next award will actually be presented tonight at dinner, but we ought to let you know who's going to be the recipient of this. Is the Baker Tock H Cup, beautiful cup. It's on permanent loan from the Baker Transport family of Southampton. It's the largest physically preserved for the big engine owner whose standing and status is countrywide. often but not necessarily the owner of a show engine. That really doesn't matter. This award's been made to the Preston family for their huge contribution to steam fraternity over many, many, many years. And that will be awarded this evening. Thank you.
There is a supposedly a tradition that goes with this, that the recipient is supposed to fill it with whiskey and pass it round. So if somebody could warn Jamie, because that'll be his department, I'm sure.
Number 8, this is the Jack Holloway Portables. This trophy is the Jack Holloway Portables Fruit Bowl. The clue is in the title. Awarded as the title suggests, because Jack Holloway felt the need to recognise this side of rally work, and quite rightly. Portable, Roby Portable. Steve Denton. Not here. Okay. Anybody collect it on his behalf? But Mr. Coles, you're not going to fetch this one, are you? No? Thank you, Mike. Again, this trophy has been awarded to someone who hasn't got a clue that it's coming to them. Just with subscriptions raised with the committee as a memorial to a lady called Connie Hutchins, who had been the membership secretary in the early 1960s. She was a very well-known and well-liked lady, and the trophy has become to be awarded to a lady within the movement as a remembrance in memorial of Connie. And the citation reads, in almost any society or volunteer organization, you will find a person who quietly gets on the job, asking for help only when they really cannot manage without it. They're often not quite fully understood by some and seem to be reclusive by others, but who can often surprise you with their views of the world and their ability to sell your organization. The NTET has such a person. She can be found at events and rallies in all weathers throughout the year, in sometimes far-flung places, sometimes alone, sometimes with a band of helpers, and always to be found in the evening in the beer tent, recovering from the day's exertions. She's here today selling her wares, taking your money, and trying her very best to ensure that you get value for money while making a few bob for the trust. Kathy Smith, would you come? Thank you.
The only one who could see a face when he was being involved is the picture. If you come this up, starting to smile.
Tell me you recognised yourself. Yes, you did. Well done, Kathy. Number 10. That's got the Whitworth bolt.
Oh, yeah.
This 10th award this afternoon is the Bill McAlpine Trophy. Until his very untimely death, Sir William, or Bill, as we all knew him, Bill McAlpine, was a patron of the NTT, but he was much, much more than that. He was a well-respected man of steam. His ventures and achievements are legendary, and which took him to a heady. Sorry, I'll start again. His ventures and achievements are legendary, and took him to heady heights. But he put great store in keeping both feet firmly on the ground, and this fact made him a huge favourite with all who knew him. So Bill gave this trophy to the NTT for it to be awarded to someone who, through example and endeavours, has made a significant contribution to the road-going steam preservation movement. The few words you will hear from me now when I try to describe the contribution that the recipients of this senior award have made to our hobby barely scratch the surface. So they'll be very brief. Years ago, the people who are getting this award legitimately repatriated a number of engines from the Antipodes. They set to work painstakingly restoring them, complete with their original features wherever possible. This project took up huge amounts of their time, physical effort, and of course, financial resources. The enduring reward is that today, all of the engines are active to be seen regularly at numerous shows. In addition to looking after their own interests, they also generously provide homes for other engines in the area and other artifacts. Their enthusiasm and friendship is legendary. And this award will be made this evening to John and Sue Smith. Okay. Nearly 2 to go. The 11th trophy is the John Cook Memorial Trophy. It was given by John's family in his memory as former membership secretary and vice chairman of the trust. It was awarded to be presented to the overall winner of the NTT's annual photographic competition. Now, here's the clue. The winner of this year's photographic competition is usually to be found behind the scenes helping to run it. For some reason, which none of us can understand, he decided he was going to have a go himself. So he went and put his camera to work. There were a record number of entries this year for the 4 categories. All of the submissions were presented to the judges anonymously without a trace of their origins. And I know personally, because I was involved, that the judges had a very, very hard time in choosing the winners. The judges awarded this year's recipient first place in the people category, and they also awarded them the first place in the steam on the road category. So 2 first places out of 4 wasn't bad. So it's no surprise that they awarded overall winner to this person. Nick Bosworth, would you come and collect this report?
Truly one of the unsung heroes of the trust. He's always in the background. You ask him to do something, it just seems to happen. How he finds time to fit in work and other things, I don't know, but this has got a Whitworth bolt, but it isn't very good.
Where it's going to, might be able to put that right. Now, this award is the SAC Apprentice of the Year award. It's the JTBB Cup. Hopefully, the person who's going to receive this is watching on Zoom. I'm not sure that he actually knows he's going to receive this award. It's to be made to a steam apprentice who has demonstrated a very high level of knowledge and practical achievement relating to the working, operation, and maintenance of traction engines in any of their forms. Unsurprisingly, this young man has previously been the recipient of this award way back in 2018. But his quiet demeanor, his hunger for knowledge, and the gentlemanly way in which he sees those attributes when stood on or around not only his own scale Burrell traction engine, but also on full-size engines, is quite something to behold. His enthusiasm for the hobby is reflected in the great support he receives from his mum, who herself has become a dab hand at loading and unloading the traction engine, the scale traction engine, on and off the trailers. Often to be found at rallies, giving other youngsters rides and hands-on experiences on his own miniature traction engine. We can consider the future of our hobby is safe if it is in the hands of this young man and others like him. And this is to be awarded to Oliver Maunder. So if you're watching, Ollie, very, very well done. Well done.
Yes, this young man displays skill and maturity well beyond his years. For 3 days at the Bath and West show, he gave trailer rides with his 4-inch Burrell. He never stopped all day. The gentleman who was supposedly shepherding him got sort of fairly fed up of walking around by about lunchtime on the first day. But there was never anybody, there was never any concern because he had complete mastery of the engine at all times. Indeed, at one point, he had problems. Out came the jack, a few blocks. We soon got the back end up in the air and the gearing was all sorted and wheel was put back on and the hub tightened up and away he went again. And in fact, as I say, his mastery of the engine is really quite remarkable and he's very deserving of this prize. One quite amusing little incident. Of course, Oliver is young enough to be brought up in metric. And when he and his mum were packing up at Dorset, and she was about to hitch the van with the engine into the Land Rover, to the caravan, she said, "Now, Oliver, this is a foot, and this is a meter. Now, make your mind up which we're going to have when I back up." Anyway, it was accomplished successfully. But well done, Oliver. I'm delighted for you.
That's it, Mr. Chairman. Over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your attendance. Those of you who are joining us tonight, can I remind you it's 7:30 in the Yorkshire Suite, and there's a beer there. There's a bar there, so have a beer, and we'll see you then. But thank you very much indeed once again for your attendance. Thank you.